Hello everyone. This talk is about the solution review number 5. Basically, it will discuss about the integrity verification of the data, and the title of the talk is integrity verification through timed ledger stamps. And my name is Nisha Pawar, and I'm currently an assistant professor at Augusta University, and I'm glad to share my thoughts on this solution review today through this talk. So first of all, we would like to get an insight into why do we need integrity verification at all for that matter. So the thing is, in the current settings, advances in computing have led into massive advancement into chip getting smaller, and the almost every other device in the IoT era has that computation and processing power. But at the same time, the storage the advancement on the hardware level in terms of the memory storage is not that fast enough to keep up with the pace at which processing power is advancing. And so for that reason, the universal capturing or the fine-grained continuous monitoring of the smart spaces through these small chip embedded devices somehow terminates into a third-party storage provider. And so clearly, as we can see on the left hand of the screen, we have some data phases where we have acquisition, which clearly shows on the diagram that multiple devices can have continuous connected through the internet, and they might be continuously observing some environmental factors such as temperature, location data, or any other aspect of the smart space. But where is it going? Like all that data, it doesn't unless it's very sensitive and unless the data owner has all that uh, ownership ownership uh, ownership legal proceedings, so that it can own and it can retain the data without giving anyone else to have access to the data. It for the most part, it eventually terminates into an untrusted storage. And why do we say untrusted storage is for the matter, like it's think of just a storage service provider where we can keep our data through applications and whatever observations are being done, but there is no guarantee as such what is happening or how the way the data is being processed, because eventually it is being owned by a third party. And so in that case, we need some sort of, so acquisition enrichment as in modifying the data, or basically filtering the data that we need, and the format in which it should be stored at the trusted service provider or the untrusted service provider, is basically our very much sequential steps in today's IoT domain models. For example, smart vehicle scenarios or smart home scenarios, smart building scenarios. Almost in any IoT setting or smart city application, in almost every IoT application, we would see these in exact these sequence. And then sharing is basically where the privacy comes into play. And so we need some sort of guarantee as to who to whom with whom we are going to share this data. So if we own a smart home space, then whatever data is being captured through our devices, or even if it's just for the comfort level and for assistance for some old age persons, then also the data might be deemed as in highly sensitive. And so for that, we need some sort of access control over the data, and we need some guarantees that those access control policies are being followed and are being followed in the sense that this is verifiable. So we need some sort of verifiable guarantees as to who is storing the data, and the operation or the processing of the data for the duration that it is being stored at any service provider is verifiable in terms of any admin audit or any audit call can somehow leverage the verification process, which is not which somehow will lead into some sort of uh, computation power to reconstruct the verifiable guarantees. But at the same time, those verifiable guarantees are provable, which says that if the data is if the data for the entire duration that it was stored has been altered or manipulated or not. So essentially that's what makes the integrity verification more convincing, that if we have some extra verifiable guarantees over the data that is stored there, and we can somehow uh, use additional computation resources to reconstruct those verifiable proofs, then we say that okay, integrity is preserved or not preserved, and that aspect is basically verifiable. So this is just an overview how the and the ceiling box on the right side of the diagram basically shows an idea or a place, an intermediate place between the low end devices and the the one-stop storage provider, which somehow allows some sort of enrichment of that data. And by enrichment, we just mean that it allows the modification of data, and so that it is reformatted or it is filtered out in a way which is suitable for a long-term storage, as well as for the reconstructing the verifiable guarantees. So it's not that we need verifiable guarantees, but we don't have this ceiling box. So if we need verifiable guarantees, we have to have this ceiling box, so that we are doing uh, some uh, some work ahead of time, so that we are adding some verifiable proofs that can be reconstructed on a retrospective manner. So this picture basically gives us an idea about why do we need those integrity verification and what can be the potential scenarios for that. And so in this slide is also a little bit more specific use case about the Wi-Fi data capturing. And as we know that having a Wi-Fi network available is very much common these days. If we go outdoors or indoors, we pretty much everywhere we have the Wi-Fi data available. And so for that for that Wi-Fi data is in some sense a passive learning about who is present or who is using the Wi-Fi data in the current proximity or in the current region. And then that basically information or those connection logs can be somehow retained by the access point, or can be forwarded by the access point to a service provider, which can then use that for localization services, or specifically for, given the current situation, this can also be used for enforcing the social distancing aspect of the usually crowded regions. So the way it would work is that we have some sort of connection logs, and then the service provider have the access to the connection logs, and then we can basically use those connection logs that somehow provides the count and the locality of the MAC IDs that are connected to the access point, and then we can somehow guarantee the social distancing aspect, or at least we can guarantee that how many people were present in a certain proximity, so that we can later on use that for pandemic data management as well. And so the part is that for this system to work, we need some sort of guarantees from the users, or some sort of consent from the user, so that we are processing that data at the service provider only if the user is okay with the processing of the data. And so we might want to filter the availability of the location, as in red and blue differentiates. So the red ones can be assumed as if those who opt out from this tracking or from this trajectory mapping kind of application, but the blue ones are those who opt in and are okay with this kind of tracking, and because it's for basically for the higher good of everyone, and so they are okay with that. So this is just a brief overview of that system, but again, we would like to verify, we would like to incorporate those integrity verification guarantees, and we would like to make sure that how to ensure a tamper proof data, as in if a certain number of people were present in a particular location, then the information or the connection logs that we receive, they should not be so this having a certain number of people gathering at a place, and let's say the number is higher than what is allowed, as in higher than the threshold value, then in some sense it is like violating the laws for the social distancing. And so in the fear of not being charged for that, violating the social distancing laws, it might so happen that either the the access point owner or the admin, network admin, might manipulate the data and somehow tamper with the connection logs so that it basically appears as if they were never a place where people gathered more than the threshold value. So in that situation, we would like to have the guarantee that if people gather at a place and higher number of people than what is allowed, then if it is captured through the connection logs, then those connection logs are basically untempered, or they are tamper proof in the sense that if anyone tries to, even if the service provider or the network admin tries to manipulate the data, then in that sense this is detectable or this is verifiable. So that's how we say that we have integrity verification, as in either people don't gather at one place more than what is instructed, but if they do so, then the integrity verification guarantees that it would be 99.999%, it would be detectable with a greater probability of nearly 1. And so what's the use of those connection logs? Now, having the connection logs is basically a more formal terminology for saying that what is that single unit on which we are guaranteeing those verification processes. So retroactively verifying the time logs is what is the theme for this integrity verification solution review here. And as we know that logs are basically everywhere in every system, we keep the logs, and keeping the logs helps us reconstruct the state of the system in a way that we can somehow track down to a point where we can say that uh, this state of the system is not valid or is valid until this point only. So basically retracking the system back on the timeline as it unfolded um, is a good privilege, or is a good component and capacity of the system. If we can preserve all those audit logs, transaction logs, or connection logs, then this can somehow be reconstructed later on in a retrospective manner, so that we can basically pin down exactly what was the point, what was the pain point for the system if the system is behaving anomalous in some sense. And so the purpose is basically just for the fault tolerance and also for the auditing purposes. So the fault tolerance purpose is where we say that we like to retain some stability in the system in case a crash happens, or in case the protocols are not being followed. But auditing is basically more so a process which happens periodically, in the sense that this is by default a component of the system, but it doesn't happen all the time. It happens periodically so that it creates checkpoints or milestones for the data that has been already processed so far. And then projects like Trillion and Certificate Transparency by Google are a great example for showing that what's the relevance and significance of keeping tamper-proof logs. Now, we have timestamped ledger, and the timestamped ledger is basically is the solution, is the core part of the solution review here. And it tells us that distributed ledger or global state databases uh, should be maintained in terms of blockchain. So blockchains, it basically considers logs in per block basis, and in each block we have a few abstract representation of the logs. And so this is an example of so on the left side, we have a centralized system where D6 keeps all the logs, whatever transactions are happening between D1, D2, D3, they are all being fetched at one place. So this is the central point of trust, which might or might not abide by the trusted policies. And so on the right side, we can see, which is more like a distributed ledger approach, where we have D6, and the D6 is basically replicating every transaction as it is being added to the chain. And at the bottom of the screen, we can see we have a chain of transactions, and then we have blocks. And why do we have blocks B1, B2, B3? Is to somehow create a checkpointing approach on a given set of transactions. And then unfolding timestamp chains is basically the solution review for this topic is to, instead of keeping all the data chained together, what we can do is we can create some timestamped policies, and then we can, as in a log entry, LE1, we can combine each log entry or each timestamp policy with the upcoming policies of the next data object that we have. So in some sense, we are between T1 start to T1 end, we are chaining not only the data, but the metadata in terms of having the timestamp policies, which can somehow leverage the activation and actuation of further data retention and data deletion policies as well. And the linear time auditing makes it affordable in terms of verifiable guarantees. And then we have a few properties here in terms of accessibility, timeliness and completeness, and the consensus. Of course, if we would like to incentivize this distributed or decentralized replicated state machine model, then we would have to have the model for who will mine and who will agree and who will decide on the validity of the transaction that should be appended to the replicated ledger. So that consensus part or the incentive part is basically very much decoupled from the existing system. But the first 2 points, the accessibility and the timeliness, are very much guaranteed here, and it makes a scalable system if we just focus on preserving the timed policies in terms of the metadata for actual data, and then actual data can be decoupled from the verification of the timeliness of the policies. And then if it abides or if it doesn't abide, then we can of course go back to the next step and verify the data as well. So here we have some references, and specifically the last reference is very much associated with the work that I presented today. And thank you very much for tuning in and for allowing me this opportunity to share my work with all of you. And if you have any question, then please send me an email and I'll be happy to respond to the queries. Thank you so much.